Before we get started tonight, ladies and gentlemen, here on Fast Break, welcome back to the world. I want you to introduce to a couple of our sponsors. But first, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. And congratulations to the Warriors. The Warriors took a tough 38-8 loss to the Inland Empire Kings in Week 5, putting them at 2-2 on the season. But they'll be back in action next week on the road versus the Riverside Disciples. The world of semi-pro pros is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes. Whether it's playing to get film out, to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors has been on the quest to earn titles and give their players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give some pros a chance. If you love your sport, you may get that second chance you may have been waiting for as an athlete. You can find us on social media at Twitter at SoCal Warriors. You can find on Instagram, Southern California _Warriors, and on Facebook, Southern California Warriors. Background Check International. Are you looking to a background check on a new hire? Let Kit Freeman take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994, and is here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help you make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for any crimes such as identity theft or other illegal activity. You can find them on their social media website, bcint.com, and on Facebook, Background Check International, BCI. Now on to the show. Well, football season is kicked into high gear in college and the pros. But basketball will be right around the corner here about in a month or so. So we can start off our NBA preview series, starting with the Southwest Division. Can the Mavs take the next step with Luka locked in for the next 5 years? Can the Grizzlies, same thing, do the same thing as well? Also, the Pelicans, what are they going to look like under Willie Green? The Spurs, is Pop done as a coach? Or he got one more trick up his sleeve? And for the Rockets, can Jalen Green take them to the future and beyond? We'll discuss that more on Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for That's All is Sports, and you're welcome to join us. And join us as you shall tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We're back in the fold. It's good to be back on here. Thank y'all for joining with us. We back. You know, a lot of good things has been going good with us here at Fast Break. I know D-Lock, you got a lot of good things going on with you. How you doing tonight, sir?
Everything's going pretty good, man. Happy to be back. I know that basketball is around the corner, but it is exciting to see footballers here. But it's all in general loving sports right now. But things are going good. And definitely a lot of things going on, and definitely excited for the upcoming NBA season.
Yes, a lot of things are going on. You know, your Bucks won. You know, this past Thursday to open up the NFL season against the Cowboys. So y'all look real good. My Tennessee Titans, I don't know what happened there. I guess, like the commentators were saying all game, Chandler Jones was angry about not getting his money. So, and he proved it today. So, we'll discuss that in another time. But we're here for basketball. And thank y'all for tuning back in with us. We took a little break here and time to reset our batteries and stuff like that. But we're back to the grind. And we're back with our NBA preview series as well. And it's kind of, recap D-Lock, with the Southwest Division. What do you see from when we did the preview last year and then do the course of the season? How did you feel, what you predicted and how the season played out for the teams in this division?
I think things went very similar to what I expected. Obviously, one of the shocking things was Milwaukee winning the championship. I remember one thing that we were talking about a lot was Brooklyn, but when we were talking about them, they only had Kyrie and Kevin Durant. So then what mess around to come back, and now they got James Harden. So the preview would be a little bit more accurate. That was an addition they got mid-season. But I thought that they went, kind of expected. One thing that was a big shocker was the fact that the Lakers didn't come back as strong as we thought they would, or I thought they would, as well as Miami Heat. Fun, crazy part about it is both of them in the NBA Finals got a shorter break than most teams, so maybe that played a part. But the previews went pretty good. I think I hit on most things, but as there is every year, there's always shockers. Another big one was the Wizards. I was expecting more from them than the preview. So hopefully I can be similar on this preview.
Yeah, I think looking at this division and kind of like what we predicted last year, I wasn't, big on Stan Van Gundy coming in for the Pelicans, and then kind of fast forward to now, he's not even here no more. Houston, we kind of dissected that, like the James Harden situation and that trade going through. Then the injuries kind of really kind of killed, what remains happened after that James Harden trade. The Spurs, they a little in limbo. It's like they got the young guns, but they had the young guns coming to the season, and they kind of made the NBA playoff game, but it's sort of like, they missing a superstar that kind of elevate their roster. A lot of good role players, a lot of good guys you like to have on your roster, but they ain't taking you nowhere. Unless somebody in that young bunch kind of breaks out, we'll see. And then the Mavs, Grizzlies, it kind of similar in a way, D-Lock, as we watch the course of the season. The young guards, even Luka and Ja Morant, kind of, carry their teams in a sense. While they, they're big men, and like Jaren Jackson and Porzingis, I know Jackson's come back from the injury, but he didn't kind of hold weight. And when you need them to step up, they really didn't step up as you would hope. So, we'll talk about it more in the previews here, but that's how I look at this division. It's like a lot of young teams, a lot of potential, and we'll just go and, it kind of showed that over the course of the year.
Yeah.
So
definitely agree there with a lot. Did definitely see a change in Houston. I ain't gonna lie, I was expecting a lot more from Kristaps Porzingis as well last year. So we'll definitely see how it plays out this year coming up.
yeah, so we'll see. I mean, we'll about to go over this preview and whatnot and see what happened and what we predict and all that. So, do you want to go first or you want me to go first on this?
I mean, I can start it off. I mean, they want to put these in the order that I'm expecting.
Yep. It's kind of like last year we did like 5, 2, 1. So 5 being the worst, then 1 being your, number 1 team.
Yeah. Well, be honest, I'm glad we picked this division first because this is the one that's going to be, I think, at least challenging. So right now, I start out at 5. I got Houston. I feel like Houston right now, not doing too much. Picking up Jalen Green, which is a hell of a pick, but they kind of still, all over the place. I believe they went and got Avery Bradley. But I do like the pieces in the Jay Sean Tate, the Kevin Porter, Kenyon Martin, but I want to see where this goes with this team. I feel like they're still lost in the shuffle right now. Christian Wood should play a valuable piece for them. So I think that they can be pretty solid. Picking up Dentarius, like we talked about before, was kind of questionable. See what they're going to do for them. So for me, I feel like this team is not there yet. I was expecting a lot more from John Wall, but we see how that played out. So I have them at the bottom of the barrel to start out. So starting at 4 might be kind of a shocker, but I got the Spurs. DeMar DeRozan was the key guy on his team last year, and now that he's not there, they're leaning on a Derek White, DeJounte Murray, Jakob Poeltl. They picked up a Doug McDermott. Devin Vassell should play a bigger part. They picked up Thaddeus Young in that move of DeMar DeRozan. So I'm not expecting to be too much of a key problem. They do got Pop, but I think we might be seeing the last couple of years of him being a coach for them. So for me, I definitely got them 4th. I want to see more of Trey Jones this year. I want to see if he can be more effective. And we may get that chance now that DeRozan isn't there. And they're kind of a team that's not relying on one person as much, or one player. So got them at 4, and just got to see how that trickles down. So right now at 3, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. I think they're young. Matter of fact, they just did that big trade with Marc Gasol from the Lakers. You did get Honcho, Hernan Gomez from Minnesota, Jaren Jackson is going to be who he is. Steven Adams, are they just trying to bulk up in that area, losing to Joe Val? So for me, I think they're going to be 3rd. They're heavy. They're loaded at the guard position. So can we get better play at the guard, especially with John Morant? So can he take that next step? He could, but they're just they're very young right now. And like I said, this division here isn't too packed anyway, in my eyes. So I definitely have them being 3rd. This is where it gets kind of interesting. Is I got the Pelicans at 2. they have a solid team. Devontae Graham was over there, was a huge pickup to me. Eric Bledsoe isn't there. Picking up, I believe they just got Garrett Temple. Getting Joe Val was a good piece. Zion is going to be Zion. I think he's going to be the reason. He's the reason why I got him at 2, not 3, 4, 5. I think that he's going to be the sole reason why they're going to make this move forward. Brandon Ingram is there clearly. Jackson Hayes had an interesting off season. So Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think he plays a lot better this year as well. But for me, I have the same issue with, and it go off topic a little bit, but we just seen James have 5 touchdowns with the Saints. No picks. He went to a different coach, and now he's looking like a better player. So you kind of had a person that you can develop, but you moved him. Now he's with a better coach. He's looking like a better player. I say that to say that the Pelicans are moving from coaches too fast.
Yeah.
Have your coach, and okay, Willie Green is there, cool. But if you're gonna stick with it, if you're gonna name him the coach, don't give him a year and say, well, you know what, we didn't win the NBA Finals in that year, so we're gonna just ditch you and go grab another coach. Every time they do that, I believe they're stunning the growth of Zion, of Brandon Ingram, just like I felt the Bucks did with Jameis by moving him and not trying to develop him. So trying to tie those two together. Like I said, I like what the Pelicans got. The question is just the front office part. Like, what are you going to do? David Griffin's there. Like, are you going to just keep moving people just to move them and see if they get you to the playoffs faster than you want? So, for me, like you said, you kind of question that, Kevin Van Gundy last year. But right now, for me, it's more so questioning that front office. Like, what are they going to do? So, for me, I have them at 2. Mainly one of the reasons because this division is just so bad, in my opinion. And then clearly up at the top, I gotta have the Dallas Mavericks, because I just watched Luka damn near take his country to the Olympic to the a medal game.
Mm-hmm.
So he's that guy, I think a huge piece that they did pick up that I really like was Moses Brown. I think he's one of those guys that not many people talk too much about. He's that big guy that's gonna, defend the boards a little bit. But Luka's Luka. You riding Reggie Bullock, but is he just there to fill, different positions? The Josh Richardson position. I have to see what Porzingis is going to be able to do. I feel like this is like another reason, like I said, is because this division is just so bad. Like that, and the fact that you have Luka, it's clear that Luka may be in the talk of an MVP season next year. It also depends on what this team does. So for me, I have Dallas number 1, New Orleans number 2, Memphis 3, San Antonio, which is shocking, all these years, got them number 4, and Houston number 5.
Let me ask you this on the Pelicans, and you brought up their front office. Because they ran into this problem years ago with Dale Demps, being there, and then Anthony Davis, and then, the league really screwed over Dale Demps, in my eyes, because, he did that trade with the Lakers with Chris Paul, and then that didn't go through, and they kind of neutered him after that. And then basically kind of stifled that, team for a while. Do you see David Griffin maybe not doing enough with Zion in the fold, and then after a while he kind of looks around and leaves as well?
I mean, I can see something similar to that. Something very similar. Just because for me, it's about the consistency and the laying the foundation to be able to trust the build of what the seed that you're planting. So I don't know, like, you get a player like a LeBron or Zion, that's a one of a kind, and you have to be dedicated to that and build around it. So it would be wise to do that, but with the impatience that most front offices have, like they tend to say, okay, well, you know what, this is not happening fast enough, so we're gonna just bail and go do something else. Like, it kind of questions what's the sole purpose of getting into the business of being a general manager or director of operations or in the front office at all. Like, are you there just with the money aspect, or are you really trying to win? So I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt David Griffin making a move like that, especially how things are moving now. Like, the inconsistency right now in New Orleans is already kind of scarce. Now, even though Zion is young, he's only been there a couple of years. We know that he has his life, and he shouldn't have to really have his parents worry about a lot of things. Like, I can see why he already questions or want to leave New Orleans. Like, you're already having somebody who's not showing you that consistent, like, I'm trying to be great. As an athlete, you want to be successful for the most part, a lot of them. So you want to win. You're coming from Duke, one of the top schools that's successful. So you go to a Pelicans, clearly when you're great, as good as he is, and you get drafted so high, you're going to a team that needs help to win. So you want that same energy from the front office, and when you don't get that, now this is when two teams or the player in the front office or coaches are disagreeing and having these issues. So for me, to answer that question, I wouldn't doubt it if later on maybe later this year or a couple of years from now, we hear something about David Griffin trying to move out or move on.
Yeah, I hope that don't happen, for the city of New Orleans' sake, because if that were bound to happen, I just think, maybe some guys, some owners around the league who got some clout, probably get together and talk wherever country club, golf course, or some, opera concert, and say, hey, we can make a lot more money with the NBA team, say, in Vegas or Seattle or who else I can think of right now. What's the city I'm thinking about? Maybe put a second team in Chicago, Vancouver. I don't know, something like that. That's my fear. Is Zion, after a while, kind of gets tired of being in New Orleans. I think the city may lose that team, because some of these owners around like damn, we gifted them Anthony Davis years ago when the new ownership bought the team. Got gifted Zion when Anthony Davis chucked up the deuce. What now? We're going to give him the next young hot prospect.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out, because now, like you said, you get somebody who's hot, and then, like you just said, there's always somebody new coming in all the time. Now, don't forget now, LeBron's son, Bronny James, is going to come up to the draft eventually at some point. So, another person that is probably going to be highly touted. It's going to be one of the better players, or could possibly be one of the better players in the league. So it's going to be kind of interesting, man, to see how that plays out. But the fact that it's not being patient enough to just let the seed that you plant work, I'm pretty sure it scares a lot of athletes, because you're not consistent enough to say, hey, I'm going to sit with this pick I've drafted or this city or this team and tried to make it great, but then you quickly move somewhere else. Like, that's kind of scary.
Before I get to my 5, Luka signed a big extension. Well, of course, he would. Does he last through that whole contract duration? With the folks Mark Cuban's bringing in, the front office, stuff like that, and Luka already kind of butting heads with those type of people. Does he stay that duration for that contract? Or he stays for that duration contract, but he bounces in free agency after those 4 or 5 years?
Well, I'm thinking if he do, I don't see it. I don't see him really moving around too much just because of the kind of contract that he has. Even though any damn team will take that contract with Luka, but I don't see Mark Cuban kind of letting that be the hey, you felt this way, so we're gonna move you. Like, I disagree with that part.
I don't know.
I actually think that he's gonna stay there, like, for the long haul. It's at least the whole contract anyway. He might get an extension, but we're talking about possibly being an MVP of the league as well.
I don't know. It's real interesting to me that we read that stuff from that Athletic months ago. What was going on with them and stuff like that, and and then comes about they hire another outside person to run basketball operations, but at least this person has basketball ties and stuff like that. Play basketball, work with players and stuff like that. So we'll see how that comes. But with these generation players coming through right now, if they're not unhappy about a situation and all that stuff, hey, when they ask for a trade, they're going to ask for a trade. Now, if they get that trade, we'll see, kind of look at, Ben Simmons in that situation. But, do I see Lucas staying? Good possibility. But if the Mavs still hover around that 6 to 8 spot, and he don't see no growth or get no help from Porzingis or anything else, then he may ask for a change of scenery. I don't know who he's cool with. Him being a foreign player, but time will tell, what happens with him. And hopefully, for Mark Cuban's sake, he keeps this dude happy no matter the cost. Because if Cuban lose, what's going to say it, like a top 5 player in the league, maybe no lower in the top 7, then, what are you doing here? You're a great businessman, worth a lot of money. I'm sure you can figure this out to keep your top player happy, give him the best help, and bring another championship to Dallas.
And that's what the goal is. I mean, we seen what Luka can do and what he's capable of. So for me, it would be wise to build around this guy. But we know we've seen different things happen. So you just never know.
Very true. But let me go get my 5 out the way real quick. Like you, I think I think we kind of align on this. 5, I got Houston. I hate to put Houston in this spot. The only reason I got Houston in this spot, I could have had the Spurs here. But something tells me that if Houston don't get off to a great start, pieces like John Wall and Christian Wood may be sold high to a contending team. You know, who? I don't know. We'll see. But, you know, you kind of look around the league, you know, who needs a point guard? You know, like a Boston. Now, granted, yeah, they signed Dennis Schroeder and stuff like that, but, you know, we'll talk about him later on. I mean, down the line here. But who needs like a point guard to put him over the hump? And I know John Wall's contract is going to be hard to move, but some contending team out there is going to take a bite at take a chance on him if things don't go right in Houston. Same thing with Christian Wood. A lot of teams like playing small ball and whatnot. I think if you need that guy to get you 15-11, can stretch the floor for you, can rub it down, contest the basket and stuff like that. If you're a contending team and Houston ain't looking too hot, you really got to snatch that guy up. I don't care who you are. Even if it's like if you're tight your rotation in the playoffs, if he's like one of your first two guys off the bench, that'll be a steal for your team. But for Houston, D-Lock, I was like, I'm trying to figure out like a starting lineup for them. I got one written down. I got like John Wall, Christian Wood, Kevin Porter, Daniel Tice, and Jalen Green. I know we talk about Tice and that contract he got. That's a lot of money for a guy that really don't move the needle like that. Jalen Green, you might as well just throw him out there and see what he does. And he looked good this past summer during Summer League. So that's an encouraging sign. Porter, he can score boards and then, you know, got a solid team. But like I said, if they're not off to a hot start or surprise a lot of people, then I can see them start selling off assets to kind of build more to the future and build around Jalen Green. Number 4, same thing like you, the Spurs. I'm looking at this roster right now, D-Lock. They got Al-Farouq Aminu. They got him for $10 million. I ain't know Al-Farouq Aminu was making that money still. He got a hell of an agent. Then, you know, they threw big money at Doug McDermott. You know, saying Doug McDermott has kind of bounced around a lot ever since he's been in the league. They took a gamble on Zach Collins, who I like, but past couple of years, he has not been able to stay healthy. A lot of young guys, like I said, a lot of young guys I like. Dejounte Murray, Derek Wright, you know, Brian Forbes, Lonnie Walker. We talked about on a draft, Josh Primo, who, you know, could be a good combo guard for them down the line. Got to work on that jumper, but could be a good solid pair for them down the line. Keldon Johnson, who you like a lot, and played with Team USA this past summer. You know, they got a good, nice collection of guards and stuff like that. But you get to the big men, like, you know, Al-Farouq Aminu, Doug McDermott. They did a trade with Chicago with DeRozan and Thaddeus Young. The big men are left to be desired. But, you know, if those guys can be healthy down low and those guards can show some growth, I think they could surprise some people. Maybe potentially play in a play-in game again. But if they're not playing the play-in game again, then I don't know what you're going to do with this team. You don't got a lot of money committed to a lot of guys. That's a good thing. But if you feel good about this roster, you need a superstar type of player to kind of bring them up, in my eyes. So I'll go on the Spurs at 4. But they could easily be my 5th team. 3, I'm going Memphis Grizzlies as well. Now, only reason I put them here is I think John Morant, he played pretty well this past season. He did kind of start slow a little bit until he caught on later on in the season. My big thing with them, Jaren Jackson. If he can stay healthy, come back and play well for this team, it'll go a long way for this young group to, be consistent down for the future. When some of these other teams kind of, start to age out, like the Warriors, Lakers, Clippers, and etc. Memphis should be that next group of teams, along with the Pelicans and Mavs to kind of take over that top half of the league. But if Jaren Jackson, is healthy and can play, that'll be great for them. And then look at this roster, Kyle Anderson, he's pretty solid in the 6-man role. Dylan Brooks, very solid as a starting two guard for this league. D'Anthony Melton, solid off the bench. You mentioned about Herm Gomez, getting him. I thought that was a good pickup as well. So in this case, if Jaren Jackson goes out, you got him right behind to kind of fill that void. Also, Brandon Clark in the fold still. Steven Adams, I don't know. It's like with Valanciunas and Steven Adams, you're getting the same type of player. And I know that Memphis, the Pelicans did that trade to get rid of Eric Bledsoe. But are you really upgrading there? In a sense. And also, will you be better off putting Jaren Jackson at that center position? And kind of maybe, fleshing out your starting lineup a little bit better. Sliding in a Brandon Clark in that starting lineup. Going that way. I don't know. That's maybe something like Memphis should consider. Number 2, Pelicans. I'm happy Willie Green got the job. I know I was hating on Stan Van Gundy getting that job last year, but like I mentioned, talk about last year, like, damn. I never retread. But I'm glad Willie got his chance. He's been grounded for the past few years. And he's comes into a good situation that, he can surprise a lot of people. You got a good base of guys. In your fold. Like you mentioned about Devontae Graham. That was a great pickup for them. And hopefully he could fill that void that Eric Bledsoe didn't bring to New Orleans. And I think he can do that. I think they're going to give the keys to Kyra Lewis at point guard. You got to see what you got. Would you pick them last year? And let me ask you this. And I'll bring up a football analogy up. The five quarterbacks that got drafted this past first round in the NFL draft. Most of them are starting. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Would it make sense if you drafted somebody in the first round? You got to see what you got, right?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I feel like you need to see what you have in the play that you just drafted first round, because clearly the first round has high expectations. First rounders do anyway.
Well, I guess my example is coming to the Chicago Bears. We heard Matt Nagy said that, he needs to see what Andy Dalton does in their offense. But let's be real. You seen what Andy Dalton done for the past 10, 11 years in the league with Dallas and Cincinnati. You know what he can do in the league.
Correct.
We seen that. We seen the best in Andy Dalton and some of the worst. Why waste your time and, like you mentioned, stunting the growth of your young player and Justin Fields, who's more exciting, could do more with your team, as a first round pick, instead of like stunting your team to a worse record, or kind of stunting your team in the whole process. That's why I kind of look at the Pelicans in a sense that we've seen what Eric Bledsoe has done over the league's past couple years, past few years that he's been in the league. Especially the last couple years, he ain't been playing his best. Now you got this young 19-year-old kid coming in who's a lot taller and faster than Bledsoe. You gotta see what you got in him. You got to. Same thing with Houston. Throw Jalen Green in the starting lineup. See what you got. Primo and San Antonio may be a different case because all the other guards they got ahead. But I'm just saying, if you draft these guys in the first round, and which we'll get to like some of the other teams like Cleveland, for example, I'll go off on that. But you draft these guys in the first round, lottery picks, stuff like that. Throw them out there, see what you got. If these guys ain't to snuff, you don't resign them or trade them. Get some value back. And this is why I kind of went with the Pelicans. Ingram, Valanciunas, Zion, Devontae Graham, Kyle Lewis, probably your starting lineup with Josh Hart, Alexander Walker, Willie Gomez, off the bench. And I'm kind of curious, if Herb Jones kind of factors in that rotation as a defensive stopper and whatnot. But it'd be real to see what Willie Green does with this team to carry them over the top. Can he get this team over the top? That's the main thing. Because they got the young guns there. It's just a matter of if they can get over the top. Zion, Brandon Ingram stay healthy. And I think that will go a long way for them in this season. If Zion and Brandon Ingram not healthy throughout the season, playing at least 70 games, then the Pelicans ain't making the playoffs again. And then number one, of course, is the Mavs. We talk about Luka. I think Luka makes everything go with this team. I think for them, it's kind of funny the past couple of years in the playoffs that they get matched up with the Clippers. They seem like they kind of somewhat in control against the Clippers. But then something happens and then they lose out to the Clips. I don't know what it is, but it's just like they have control and then, they lose against them. And then after all those years, Rick Carlisle is gone from Dallas. I hate that how quickly he got another job. But, he's gone to Indiana. Now you got Jason Kidd in the fold for his third round as a coach. back where he started in the NBA in Dallas. I'm kind of curious how Kid's going to, carry Luka. Because in a similar, like a lot of similar ways, besides the shooting, Luka and Jason Kidd got similar games. How, rebounding and assists like that offensively. I think Luka could be a little bit more better on defense, with Kidd really shine as well. But I think if Kidd can get Luka to lock in defensively and be a better all-around player, and I know some of y'all probably hearing this like, well, damn, Davidson, isn't Luka already good already? Yes, he is, but there's some fine-tuning he can bring to the table. But if Jason Kidd could get this kid to buy in, don't worry about other things going on in the organization, other people, then I think that would go a long way, for the Mavs season. I think the biggest thing for the Mavs, they can't continue hanging around the 6 through the 8 spot. That's gonna be death for them. I think for them, it's gotta be at least, you gotta at least be top 4. You have to. Porzingis, he's got to help with that. Will he be motivated as the number 2 guy to be that guy, to do that? Time will tell. You mentioned about Moses Brown. Very good, great pickup by them. They needed somebody down low. I was kind of surprised Boston kind of gave him up like that. But, good for the Mavs to get him down there as potentially their starting center. Because let's be real, Max Kleber, Willie Cauley-Stein, Dwight Powell, even though he's getting paid like $11 million, they didn't do enough down low. And I know people love Boban down there, but he's like this modern age George Mearshon. But I think they need, for the Mavs, for a wrap up here, I think they need some development from Josh Green. They need to see something out of him. They got a solid bench, with Jalen Brunson, Trey Burke, and Dorothy and Smith. And I think if those guys can raise their games along with Porzingis, they'll go a long way for this team and in its future. Or, whoever in the front office, you got to figure out quick who's going to be good role players for Luka or who's not. But, out of this division, I'll make a bold statement. I'll make a very bold statement. I think the Pelicans and Mavs will make the playoffs.
Pelicans making it. Ooh. They could.
Now, I think the Mavs will make it in, but don't have to play in the play-in tournament. But I think the Pelicans will make it, but they have to do the play-in tournament. I think, for Memphis, and we'll talk about the other divisions here in the coming weeks. The Pacific Division, it's going to be tough. That's 4 teams right there. Not talk about the Kings that are making the playoffs. And then you get to the other division. You got Denver, Portland, Utah. That's 7 teams right there. Then you throw in the Mavs, that's 8. And then you throw, and after those 8, you got the other teams fighting for scraps, including one year on division in the Memphis Grizzlies. So I can see him making it, but it's going to be in the playing game. What you think about that?
I can see that. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. I feel like Zion is just one of the top players in the league. So can't count him out. So for me, I wouldn't doubt for him to lead them, to the playing game. But we'll see how Willie Green treats it. I mean, like I said, for me, I don't doubt the talent that they have, with Brandon Ingram as well. Like, we can't forget they have him. My biggest thing is just, how long do they do it? Like, is the standard for them to make the playoffs, or they fire Willie Green? Like, is that the standard? Like, how are they going to approach that? So, and that's just how I view it. And with that team, it's like, oh, well, we have this guy, so you have to have him develop by next year. Like, no, that's not the case. I mean, plenty stars we've seen over time, it took them a couple of years to develop into what they were, and for the team to be put together. I mean, Michael Jordan is a prime example. Michael Jordan was a stud when he got to Chicago. But they needed to put, they started putting better players around them. And, now, NBA Finals come around, consistently making improvements. Same with LeBron. So it's about how the front office approaches it. And if they can approach it pretty well, for one, they should make that playoff. They should make that just because of the fact that they do have a solid roster. But I expect much more improved this year. But I don't want it to be where, okay, this is basically like one and done for Willie Green. I don't want that. Hopefully they continue to, see this year as a stepping stone to what he can do with them moving forward.
Yeah, I hope it's not one done deal for Willie Green, because that'd be that'd be silly on the Pelicans' part to fire two coaches like that and then pay all that salary for the next few years like that. That'd be, I know the Benson family down there in New Orleans got a lot of money, but as we discussed in the past about, rich or / wealthy people, they don't have to spend money unless they really don't have to. And that's one of those things. But, I'll leave it off in this note. If Houston's not trying to tank or whatever, or they kind of limbo in about their future, I think, with Wall, Wood, Porter, and then you get a good production out of Jalen Green, which should be the main focus, then I think Houston can do some things. Spurs, same thing. If you get good production out of Josh Primo, and you're playing well, they may sneak in. Maybe Pop got one last run in them. Memphis, if John Morant continue to grow and those other guys can contribute as well and stay healthy, it'll go a long way for them. Pels, Zion staying healthy, Ingram staying healthy, Kyrie Lewis, having more growth in this game and giving the keys to the point guard position will do wonders for this team. Because he can fly up and down the court, and go along with Zion with his athletic ability, it will go great with this team. And the Mavs, hey, like we said, Luka's a top 7 player in the league. Can he carry this bunch out of the 6-8 spot into the top 4? So that's what I'm going to look for me for the Mavs. Can Luka elevate this team to a top 4 seed in the dogfight of the West? Along with Jason Kidd. If they can do that, hey, like you mentioned, if he does that, I think he's in shooing for MVP. Can he carry this bunch out of the 6-8 spot into the top 4? So that's why I'm going to look for me for the Mavs. Can Luka elevate this team to a top 4 seed in the dogfight of the West? Along with Jason Kidd. If they can do that, hey, like you mentioned, if he does that, I think he's in shooing for MVP.
Yeah, I mean that's my biggest thing. We're talking about one of the better players in the league, and him to take his country so far. I think he definitely do. And the same thing with Dallas. Definitely take them pretty far.
So, ladies and gentlemen, just to recap, me and D-Lock kind of had the same list for the Southwest Division. Houston, number 5. Spurs, number 4. Memphis, number 3. The Pels, number 2. And the Mavs, number 1. So that's how we got the Southwest Division looking for the 21-22 season. So, join us next week when we go over our next division. We'll probably talk off air. We'll see which one will be better than the Southwest Division. But
yeah, I'm glad we got this one out the way because this one was a rough one, to be honest. It was hard picking who was going to be second in the division, third.
But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in with us tonight. Thank you for allowing us back into y'all homes or however y'all listen to this. But D-Lock, how can the people find you on social media?
You guys can definitely find me at Black-813. My Bucks did play pretty good, so I did do a lot of tweeting this past week, but expecting a big season, but that's definitely where you can find me at tweeting. A lot of different things, and also Instagram, Black-813. So let me know where they can find you at, man.
You can find me on Twitter at Spawn4288. That is Spawn4288. Also, please do check out the Twitter page at Fastbreak IESR. That's Fastbreak IESR. So you get caught up with all the news and stuff like that when we post. And also, dropping what our next preview is, which division what it is. Also, I do this another show on the side called The Crooks Process. You can follow that show on Facebook and Instagram. That is The Crooks Process on Facebook and Instagram. Also, please do follow IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. A lot of good content coming through. A lot of good shows coming through the network as well. I think we got shows on all 32 major cities in the country. So please do tune in to IE Sports Radio on Twitter. And also IESportsRadio.com as well. But until next week, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back previewing another division. Like I said, basketball right around the corner. You'll be here before you know it. But we are out.